Hi, my name is Linda, and I got my thing on my phone, so I'll be reading from this. But anyways, why do I believe in Jesus? I feel like I can share this best by sharing my testimony. So, starting from the very beginning, my parents were immigrants from China. They came from a town where everybody there practiced some form of Buddhism. I'm not exactly sure which branch they follow, but growing up, I watched them burn incense and give food offerings to Guanyin Pusa every morning. Even though they were very adamant about doing these things, they never really formally taught us what Buddhism is, the holy text, or why they really believed. They just expected us to follow it once my siblings and I became adults. So I was really lonely growing up. My parents were extremely busy trying to make ends meet. They were also very strict, so I wasn't able to make a lot of deep, meaningful connections. Eventually, I became desperate enough that I sought Guanyin Pusa's guidance. I prayed for a companion. I desired human connection, but I was desperate enough that I was willing to settle for even birds or reptiles to just be by my side. So I prayed daily, but days turned into months, and I felt like nothing had changed. But I began to question if there really was a higher power. I thought, how can a divine being that has control over the universe can't even provide me with one companion? When I entered high school, I became good friends with people who had worldly views. I didn't really fit in school, but I felt like they were the only people I felt safe and comfortable around. As I got to know them more, I would hear how their Christian parents disagreed with their choices, and even threatened to disown them, or have disowned them because of their lifestyle choices. I saw how much it affected them, and I was angry for them. I grew up in the Bible Belt, and saw some of my classmates that have mentioned they went to church in passing. But they would say or do things that seemed contradictory to the teachings of Jesus. Then I would see something in social media or in the news how these Christians would camp out holding signs that you're going to hell and need to repent, or that Jesus doesn't approve of these things. Quite frankly, I didn't know much about Christianity at the time, but the only thing that I did know was that Jesus is love and love your neighbors. And I thought for a religion to be known entirely for its love, their followers seemed so spiteful, judgmental, and hypocritical. I was a really prideful person. I had big plans for my future and pretty much thought that my life was going to be played out a certain way. But something happened to me that made me doubt myself. I began to wonder, what is good and what is evil? What if I'm not good? Then do I really deserve anything in this world? What happens if I really only deserve bad things because I may be entirely evil and I'm not fully aware of it? What does my future look like? Would I even have a future? If I'm not even guaranteed tomorrow, what is even the point of my life? I was so overwhelmed by all these questions and what ifs that I had to shut it off and begin to look to college as my new beginning. And when I got to college, I met this guy named Austin. I joined his friend group who were all unreligious, so I assumed he was as well. Well, come to find out through our friends, he was not unreligious, but in fact a Christian. I immediately thought, a Christian in this day and age? A STEM major, no less? I kept thinking, he'd be so much better off if he isn't a Christian. So I paid special attention to how he reacted to certain topics. Eventually, I had seen enough to go from, he's stupid for believing in God, to, why does he follow God? I thought that Christians were the kind of people that needed everyone to know that you were doing something wrong, and that they don't like it, so you need to stop it. But Austin was never like that. Even when our friends made jabs at Christianity or did things that were sinful, he never shamed them, but instead continued being friends with them. I felt how different he was compared to our friends and saw how committed he was to God. It made me wonder, what makes God so special that millions of people want to follow him? I began to ask people from different faith backgrounds why they followed God, but I felt like I got unsatisfactory answers. Finally, I went to Austin and asked, why do you follow God? He shared me his testimony, and I asked him hard questions that I was curious about, and he didn't shy away from them. At the end of our conversation, I honestly felt like I was drowning before, but I had finally gasped my first breath of clarity. The question about what's truly good or evil became clear to me. I realized that even though I would make efforts to better myself, I knew I wasn't perfect and was prone to being selfish. I knew I couldn't change on my own with how I've seen my life played out till then. I saw myself trapped in a pit I couldn't escape. It hit me that I needed Jesus to rescue me, and so I reached out to him and he grabbed me and pulled me out. After that, I began to worry less about what kind of future I will have. Eventually, I got involved with the local church and began to foster deep connections in the community, something I had longed for since childhood. So that's why I believe in Jesus. Thank you.